he only gets about 5 minutes of screen time, which was so cool, though.
Yeah, he plays, it's her father, right?
Yeah.
In basically flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved her character, especially because she's an actress, but I think she was only known in Portugal, where she's from. So this was kind of like her breakthrough into like the mainstream.
Okay.
And she was awesome. I love how she seems like this kind of torture, like how do you say, like tortured soul, where she's not really bad, but just kind of misunderstood. And then like little details with her character was awesome, like the fact that she was always like napping or sleeping during the day, it seemed.
Yeah.
And that's like a play on the fact, because of course she's, how do you say, controls rats, and we all know that rats are nocturnal, so they they sleep during the day and then they're most active at night. And I love how they show that through her kind of how do you say, her lifestyle,
one of her character traits.
yes, exactly, which is
I love the scene where you first meet her and they're like, oh, Ratcatcher 2. And then Idris Elba's, or John Cena's like, whoa, we couldn't afford Ratcatcher 1. And then she's like, no, he's dead. This is her daughter. Or this is his daughter. And she's asleep. She's like, hey, wake up. She's like, no, I'm so tired. I hate mornings. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to come back later? She's like, okay. And then she's like, get the fuck up. And then she's like, okay, I'm up. But then John Cena's like, goddamn millennials. Wow, I love those little jokes that hit so hard. It's funny. It's so perfect, and you can tell, James Gunn, he's running on all cylinders in this one.
Definitely. And then, of course, we can't leave out possibly my favorite character of this entire movie, Sebastian, the rat.
Oh yes, such a great character.
He's awesome, and he was just waving at everyone. What a great little comic relief, dude. And I'm so glad. I was so terrified that they were gonna kill him through this whole.
I know, so many times where I thought that was gonna happen.
Through this whole thing, I was like, you guys better not go there. Better not go there, James. No. Yeah. And of course, they don't. And Sebastian rules. And, he basically takes down fucking Starro the Conqueror, right? Pretty much.
Yeah. I love one of the other characters, I know we didn't go over really, Ninawe or King Shark. They call him Ninawe in the movie. I like you said, I did hear I did read about a couple complaints that he's basically Groot as a shark. I can see where people would kind of see that or have that comparison, but I don't know. I feel like he was totally. I didn't get that until people had said something or until I read about it. But I don't think that was intentional. I just love the character. I thought how it was. I thought it was just hilarious how kind of really dumb he was. When they first meet him, he's holding a book, but
upside
it's upside down.
Yeah.
John Cena's like, oh, look at him. He's pretending to read. The book's upside down. He's like, how do you say? I'm smart. And he's like, I read book. And then the whole thing with when he's trying to eat Ratcatcher 2 in the middle of the night, and they're Bloodsport basically has to put him down kind of, and they're thinking about killing him, and then she's like, you wouldn't eat any of your friends, would you? And for me, it was a really touching scene where it's kind of like society and everything sees him as a monster. So, and he's like, I know have friends. And then she's like, you don't have any? And he's like, no. And she's like, well, you wouldn't eat you're friends though, like, so can we be your friends? And he's like, yeah, and they shake hands and they become friends. And then I love how he calls them, hey, friends, or, he doesn't call them by names or anything. He's just like, friends, need help or whatever. But he was just, and Sylvester Stallone, he does such a good job in just doing those couple of things. I don't know. It was just, he's such a great character and lovable character. And how it's funny how like badass he is, because he's pretty much indestructible. He's supposedly a descendant of a sea god. I don't know. How did you feel about King Shark?
I'll tell you this. I'm pretty sure King Shark was supposed to be in David Ayer's version, and he was replaced by Croc. And with how they portrayed Croc in the first film, I felt like they kind of went the cheap way, and it was kind of like a African American stereotype, which was not the greatest way to go, right? And so, King Shark is a total upgrade from how they represented Croc, and I loved him. He was, again, great comic relief. The fact that it's Sylvester Stallone doing those little, like, one or two, words, sentences, hilarious. When he does get down to business, like you were saying, he's totally badass. He fucking devours people. He rips people in half. He goes up against like tons of soldiers alone. It seems like he can get hurt, but he can. I don't know if he's like bulletproof or something, but it seemed like
because it seemed like they were just bouncing off of him.
Yeah. Because of course he fell from like what looked like 15, 20 stories, maybe farther. And then they kind of they pull at your heartstrings because they make you think he's dead, and then he wakes up. But he does look dead for a time on the ground, and then he gets up and then goes back to doing what he does best. But yeah, King Shark was a total upgrade. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that character, definitely.
Yeah. And I liked the other character that we're not mentioning, which was, I think, I really enjoyed him, was Polka Dot Man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, David Dastmalchian. I love his character. He is such an underrated actor, I think. And I'm only just, I've seen him in tons of things, and I've loved him in pretty much everything that I've seen him in. He was in The Dark Knight. He's in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man. But in this, I loved him. His character was so like, you could tell he was such like a tortured soul, where he just didn't really care about living or dying. Because there's the scenes where they're like, oh my God, Idris Elba's like, oh, we're all gonna die, and he's like, I hope so. And it's like, oh, okay. And the whole time he looks like, every time there's a close-up on him, he always looks like he's on the verge of like breaking down and crying. He's just like one of those like super depressed people. But I loved hearing his kind of origin story as well. With kind of, you get to see why he is so misunderstood, or kind of why he is the way he is, because his mother was a scientist at Star Labs, and she had all these kids, and her own children she experimented on with whatever she could get her hands on, I guess, at Star Labs. And she ended up infecting a Polka Dot Man with a cosmic virus, or intergalactic virus, whatever. I think that's what he said it was. And it caused him to project these polka dots out of his arms. And one of the scenes was when he shoots it at while they're at the rebel base, and he shoots it at the kind of like a tower that people are shooting at them with, and it falls down. He's like, I'm sorry, it's so flamboyant. I thought that was such a great little one-liner. And then he's like, oh, I hate killing people, but when it helps when I imagine they're my mom.
Yeah. And then you kind of, I love how they incorporated like the POV shots of us looking through like Polka Dot Man's, how do you say, like his eyes, like what he sees, and then you just see like everybody, like the whole squad is just his mom dressed up as.
They're all in the costumes, which was hilarious. I thought that was such a great little touch to do that.
Or towards the end, like, when they're fighting Starro and he looks up and the giant starfish is just his mom, like screaming and breaking shit in the streets.
Yeah. Bloodsport's like, he's like, do you see who that is? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's your mom. And he looks over, then we see what he sees, like you said, just a giant mom destroying the building, like screaming. And then he unlocks both of his, his arms, and he starts shooting the polka dots at her, and cuts off cuts off her leg, basically. That was hilarious. I thought that was so clever for him to do that, kind of giving us, like you said, a POV of what he's seeing. And he says in the beginning when he's explaining why his mom did to him and his siblings, why she did it, was to make them superheroes. She wanted her kids to be superheroes, and some of them died because of the experiments, and some of them lived, and he just so happened to end up becoming a villain. And towards the end, he's doing what he's doing, and he's helping destroy Starro, and he looks over at Bloodsport, and he's like, "I'm a fucking superhero!" He's so excited because he finally feels what his mom wanted him to be this whole time, his whole life, and he kind of gets that feeling of, I'm a superhero now. This is what it is. This is what it feels like to be a superhero, doing the right thing, and he gets killed, almost instantly after he says that. I thought that was I was so disappointed. I was not disappointed, but I was like, oh man, why'd you have to kill him? There's like 20 minutes left of the movie, and he's just smashed on the ground. But it was such a cool scene, and a cool character arc for him, but a sad scene as well for him to kind of die like that, and we don't even get time to kind of feel sorry for it, because then they have to destroy Starro. But it was a good kill also.
Yeah, because what they're trying to do is, we know stuff is going to happen, or deaths are going to happen, but we don't know in what fashion, so when I feel like each one did a good job at being unexpected. Especially this one, because you're like, oh shit, he's going to take down Starro, and then he's like celebrating a little too much, and then he's pays the price.
Yeah.
Did you ever make that comparison with Bloodsport's like helmet, like his cool kind of Star-Lord-esque helmet? It looks like a xenomorph skull if you look at it closely.
With the mouth and everything.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I didn't put that together until right now. You said that about Star-Lord, how his helmet is almost identical, where he kind of, Star-Lord presses a little button behind his ear, and the nanotech or whatever goes around his face, but it's almost in the same fashion as Bloodsport, or Bloodsport is almost in the same way as Star-Lord. I didn't put that together until right now, but I think it was a more easier way to kind of have him take it off, rather than kind of pulling a helmet off and pulling it back on. I think it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
For them to do it that way with like special effects and stuff. But I loved. I didn't put that together either with the xenomorph thing. That is so cool. I don't know if that was. I'm not sure what his character looks like in the comic books, but I don't. I wonder if James Gunn, kind of did that in homage to kind of for Aliens. I know he probably loves Aliens as well.
I would assume he did Slither and everything, so it would make sense. I think he's obviously a big sci-fi guy, with this huge man. I can't believe that they used Starro as the.
That is so crazy. How did you feel about that? I wasn't too sure how that was going to play out. Using Star